It's bloody Madlib, man. Of course this shit matters. The beat conductor himself, conductor with a K and an A, is a restless master of hip-hop beatcraft, whose mind is expressed not through interviews nearly as eloquently as it is through the way that he breathes new life into whichever inspiring sample that he spotted on whichever LP gave him a sound loop to go nuts with, spinning through more crates than Crash Bandicoot, and winding up with a kind of reclusive legacy that makes you want to see if you too could try your might at stringing 2 entire beat tapes together from samples of Indian song. My thesis is that while his brand new album Sound Ancestors is not the wildest work, it's true to him and his modus operandi as a producer. Sound Ancestors is a bold title for any record at all, but it's home on one where Madlib respects the history of the source material that he's making magic with. And that's the phrase, to make magic with the sample, not out of it. On each beat, the loop that he likes the sound of has a chance to actually breathe its own breath, instead of exerting its new flavour onto it like a shit ton of spearmint mouthwash. No, he allows you to feel like you're discovering a beautiful piece of music with him. He finds what works and leaves it at that, evoking the passion of a nomad who isn't just sifting through old LPs blindly, but coming to appreciate which cultural corner of the world that he's exploring, making his albums really more like DJ mixes if you want to get smart-arsey. Sound Ancestors won't be the album that blows you away, I don't think anyways. Some of it sounds like game pause screen music, but at least it'll be a groovy fucking pause screen. Kieran Hebden of none other than Fortet helped piece this track listing together from an archival of hundreds of instrumentals that the mad librarian had jacked up over the years, and by golly, he chose some dimes. Theme to Crabtree got drum sounds crispy like fresh popcorn shrimp, seasoned with little sleigh bells, or the sound of a bulging pocket of 50-cent coins being shaken to and fro. On a more bizarre note, Loose Goose is a neurotic take on dancehall, prancing around like how I imagine bumblebees would laugh if they drank sangria. The bizarre moments are obviously going to pin themselves into your noggin like that bloke from Hellraiser, but I think I do gotta throw a big softball-sized splodge of love at the tracks that are less out there, more understated, like how the bass and vocal loop on Dirtknock transforms the atmosphere into something so solemnly empty and rainy that I could have closed my eyes and fooled myself into believing somebody had leaked an early Portishead demo. Both the title track and Latino Negro give off the impression that Madlib and Kieran really just found neat pieces of jazz and flamenco and wanted to include them on the record because they thought it was neat. It sounds silly, but it seems methodical. Madlib has a pretty deep respect for his source material, so it figures that he'd give you a blatant reason to listen to actual Latin folk music by pressing play on his old Walkman. They're the ancestors of the sounds that we get the joys of hearing in our modern music, but the catch is that we barely have any real exposure to them. The most proudly beautiful moment is near the very beginning though. Road of the Lonely Ones is no doubt the central highlight, because it soundtracks that feeling of setting sail for a new adventure, though for me the feeling is less the anticipation of what you'll find, but more the homesickness that you feel for the places that you're going to leave behind. Sound Ancestors is Madlib's way of guiding us through the history of the music that inspires his craft, and yet it only feels like an abridged Cliff Note summary from the fact that it's only 41 minutes out of a hard drive that probably contains hours upon hours of discoveries. You can imagine something like this being even more expansive and intrepid, but Madlib never has to prove himself to you. Instead he's making a case for the melting mountains of music that matters, but that you won't have heard yet.